Namaste, and welcome to our continuing series, Interviews with Aurovilians. Today, we have a very special guest, whom you've seen already on our website, Mother and Sri Aurobindo, Holger. Namaste, Holger.
Hello.
We are going to begin a 3-part series, and it may even extend to more, on the new music. It will be a wide-ranging discussion, and we invite your comments, criticisms, suggestions. So let us begin, Holger. We have been working together for some time in a very special harmony, I feel.
Mm-hmm.
You have so much experience being an excellent violinist and having performed all over Europe and in Auroville also. We have to look deeply into what the new music really means. How can we define it as differing from great older music that we appreciate so much? Can you begin, and we'll carry on?
Yeah, I can begin. Probably I cannot end.
I think so. That's why I say it may go into more than 3 series.
So the topic was for me personally always important, even before I knew the writings of Sri Aurobindo and Mother. And the newness of anything, but in particularly art, is also generally a very important mark. Artists feel judged negatively when they do something that has been done 50 years ago already, no matter how beautiful that is. So if you compose today something very much in the style of Baroque music, nobody will take you very serious in the artist field unless you do a lot of promotion and marketing.
Yes.
Which again is in some way almost the enemy of true art. So I think we have to do with, and we have to talk about 2 very important things. One thing is what is true, and one thing, what is new, which is not the same.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we go for what is true, does that mean what exactly? Does that mean authentic from one person towards himself or herself? That's what I would call authentic. I thought I'd tell that little story. My older daughter, when she was 10, at that time, I had a grand piano. And in the morning before school, she went there and played a little bit. Not practicing, she just enjoyed playing. And after some time, she said in the afternoon, "Papa, I want to show you something. I found something." And then she sat down, very serious, 10 years old, and played C, E, G, C, E, G, C, E, all over the keyboard. And at the time, I was very self-conscious and important as an artist. So I was actually lucky that I didn't comment, that I didn't say what was in my mind, to say, so it's a C major chord, it's a triad. But she was genuinely proud because she found it. She didn't do it because I had told her.
She found all the notes.
She found these notes and identified from the black and white pattern that those are sounding nice together. So that was important for me because I could witness how a person authentically plays the most simple thing you can sort of think of in Western music.
Yeah.
I'm still happy that I didn't comment derogatively about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is the case with most music. It's just somebody found, either he has learned it and does it, or he has seen it in some concert or some music and was impressed by it. And as a result of that, he plays with it because it's attractive. And then this playing becomes a little bit more elaborate. Maybe he is gifted skill-wise, something is developing. And before you know, he's saying, I composed that. Like a C major chord.
Improvisationally
or mentally. That
mentally.
Doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. Whether you sit down and write it depends on what you do, on your education a little bit, etc. Point is, he experiences it as new.
For him.
Yes.
Yes.
And who is anybody else to judge and say, no, that's old? So in order to say that something is new or old, you have to have what? A superior knowledge about the matter. Which already I don't. And I have a lot of more knowledge than many other people. So I personally, the older I get, the more I look to, I like that. I feel this is coming little bit from within. And then I play it, and maybe I record it, and then I listen to it and I say, well, it pretty much sounds like this or that or this or that, which is already there. So especially me, a musician coming at age of 33, I think, or so, to Auroville, wanting, and people say that to me, so you're here, you bring new music, the new music. And I'm like, okay, yeah, okay, I try. I couldn't find any. And I would not exactly, still today, would not exactly know how to judge that. So the older I get, the more I'm looking, is it authentic? Do I say something here that is at the moment born in me? What is born in me can, so far in my experience, be mostly, at least mostly, only things that have been there before. I heard it, I got fed with it in the mother's milk, we can say. And the same thing very much, or even more, because I'm not a philosopher, even more true for thoughts. In German, the word nachdenken means literally thinking after. But it means actually contemplating. So we Germans say for nachdenken that I think something that somebody else has thought before.
Ah.
So this is what I do when I read Sri Aurobindo, or we record it together. I'm preparing this, so I'm thinking as good as I can, which is difficult enough. I'm thinking what he has been thinking. Not very original, but fascinating, beautiful. Sometimes I'm so excited about that, it's like a roller coaster. You sit in this thing and you drive amazingly fast and sharp corners and somersaults and all that. It's on a rail. And you can do that because you trust you're safe. That's how I feel reading Sri Aurobindo. It's amazing. These are not my thoughts. I don't even know if it's Sri Aurobindo's thoughts.
But it's your experience.
Ah, wonderful.
Yes. And that makes the difference.
That is very valuable. But to stay in this example, while this is a fantastic experience and fast and powerful and exciting and all that, after I go out of the roller coaster, I take my bicycle and I drive home. That is a very different experience.
Yes.
In many places, it's not as exciting and so as it is with the roller coaster. But it is my way. It is my path.
Has the roller coaster situation remained with you for some time when you were on the motorbike?
True, also. That is true. Like we are now coming from mother's room. And of course, that is there. The more I talk, the less it will be there.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Now, that was my statement, which actually at that point says, new? What you mean? What you mean? Or what mother meant with new? She asked you, right? She asked you to do something new. And that's a lifetime ago.
Yes, it is. 61 years, in fact.
So how did that work with the new?
Well, I was only 23, so I really didn't understand very much at all about a new music. But Mother's voice carried such a power and such a force when she said, "You must bring down a new music," that I was stunned.
Yes.
And I said, "Mother, I know nothing about combining words and music." And she said, No, you must go far above words and bring down the pure music. Oh, that's been my work for 61 years, to bring it down, to find where it may be coming down in others. Now, specifically, my interest is in choral music, so I'm not at all that informed about other forms of music, such as orchestral, organ, things like that. But I can speak in terms of choral music that I have found touches of this descent of a new music in composers in various parts of the world.
Came in another word. You must bring down from as high as you can, the pure.
Yes, exactly. The pure music.
So we have brought in by me authentic, brought in by you, we have new, and we have pure. Again, pure and new are probably very different things.
Very possibly.
Even when today I play Bach, I feel it can be quite pure, but it's totally not new.
True, it is pure, but Mother combined, I feel, new with pure.
Right.
So I would say new and pure.
Yes, it should have both of those.
Yes, exactly, yes.
Yes.
So let us talk about more aspects of this music that seems to be, at least for me, descending with greater rapidity, even though it may be in a small channel. I don't hear the vastness in many pieces, but I do feel, again, I'm speaking only in terms of choral music, I do feel that some touches have come down, and I have been able to catch those touches. And
by other composers, you mean, or by your own work?
By other composers.
By other composers, yes.
We'll get into the Om Choir in the next session. There's lots to speak about that. But I'm interested in your experiences of modern music, for example? Can we?
Well, for me personally, on this, where I experience some view on music making that was for me at the time fresh, if new, was minimal music. That is when I was listening to some orchestral piece by Steve Reich on the way to a concert in South Germany, and I was driving alone, and I'm listening to this music all the while. And when I arrived at the place of the concert, I didn't leave the car for another 20 minutes because I still wanted to listen to this music.
Well, I have found it too, and we'll talk about that later. Musicians such as Petrus Vasks and Arvo Pärt.
Pärt came later than Steve Reich, but is in the same group. Yes.
Yeah, minimalist.
Yes, with a different technique and so on. But what I think these people managed to do is, after a romantic period where a lot was about the melody and its connection to the harmonies and the emotions that come from that.
Yes.
That is, 19th century is full of that.
A long period.
Yes, starting with the classical, not so much in the Baroque, but then with the classic, it became more and more individual, personal, more and more focused on emotions. In that sense, we could say less pure, maybe in a at least old way of spiritual thinking. And then came a counter movement into the mental, right? With the almost helpless and angry endeavor to let go of those prefabricated emotions that we do another song about the rose and the nice girl that unfortunately left me. And
even a breakthrough into the 12-tone system.
Which led
Maybe
to
you
that.
can talk about that a little bit also.
So this was, I feel, rather the mental, getting it back, getting the lead back. And then all these concepts were more and more and more and became like this whole concept, aleatoric music, cage, conceptual music, and so on, where everything makes only sense when you know what it is going on. Mentally know.
But isn't much of it mental?
Yes, that's what I'm saying, necessarily.
Yes. I had a teacher of counterpoint. Her name was Louise Talma, and she wrote an opera. And I was supposed to preview the bass part, and others, the tenor and soprano and mezzo. And Thornton Wilder wrote the libretto. Now, I couldn't get it. It was much too difficult for me musically. The rhythms and all that the voice had to do, much too difficult. They finally performed it in Germany, and only the bass got it, none of the others. So I thought that was a humorous aside.
Yeah, the more the mental intrudes into that, also the more difficult generally it is to execute, and it led in the music history of the West very much to that split between the executing experts and the writing experts. That is that process of the influx of more and more and more mental. We should always keep in mind that at Bach's times, Bach was able, he was extremely good, but still he was able to actually improvise what he was composing. He could sit and improvise a 4-part fugue. So these were all things that could be written down, but actually originated in the spontaneous playing. Of course, we don't have recordings. Probably he did here and there some mistakes that he didn't do when he was writing it down, because then he's out of time. He has he is not under pressure of the time flow. But all the great composers were able to do so. We know it by Beethoven. People went almost weekly, and he was improvising supposedly up to 4 hours alone, playing. And these people have all incredible memory also. So next morning he maybe sits down, people are gone, the wine is out of the brain, and now he sits and writes what he has played yesterday. And says, that was not so smart, I don't do that. Maybe this one. That was not so good, then he erases that, and so on. So there are two complementing ways of looking at music and working with music. The one that is erupting kind of from yourself at the moment, more or less without mental control. The mental control is implicit because you heard so much and you have a great knowledge as a trained musician, but otherwise just comes as it comes. This is also the case with Mother's improvisations. She sits there and then she says, let's see what comes.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah? So
she never pre-planned anything.
No. So it is relatively to Beethoven probably simpler because he had just a lot of education in terms of music. So skill level is higher, but process is the same.
Well, I would like to get into the aspect of critics of classical music. For example, I listened to a talk by Sir John Taverner. When he lays out Beethoven, it says it's all egotistical. And in a way, it was painful to listen to that for me, because I have never even considered for a moment that it could be totally egotistical. We're all egos, there's no doubt about that. But he was referring specifically to his Ninth Symphony being bombastic. Can you speak on that? On the Ninth Symphony and your experience of it?
Yes. I cannot say much about Sir Taverner and his knowledge and the moment in which he spoke. Maybe
he was a minimalist, of course.
Maybe if we would meet him now, he'd be ashamed of it.
Maybe.
Having said that. Because later in life, maybe he found something. Or this is all possible. So let's not judge about him.
Right.
With the Ninth Symphony, of course, everybody connects the fourth movement.
And, yes. And the choral part.
The choral part, everybody knows that very, 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 very simple song, which I probably could play as a child. And even when I was 15, I was on one of those country communes, and some of the people had been to India, and one had brought back a sitar. And I remember to sit for a few hours in the shed playing this sitar for the first time in my life. And I don't know why, but I did play that. And I was so happy. So everybody can sing that song. And some 20 years ago, I saw a movie, a biopic on Beethoven. And there it was at the end also, coming in. And for the first time in my life, I heard the cello playing underneath this line. And it's a very, very interesting counterpoint melody that elevates this song so much to what we experience as, that's this cello which moves in a stranger way underneath. So when you take a pop music version, it's not there. So there is this particular skill of Beethoven to do something even that simple as this melody and makes it appear as something authentic and interesting, sizzling, saying what the words are also saying. No, these are wonderful words by Schiller. So it is true. Now, it was not Beethoven's symphonies or Beethoven's music in general was at the time famous. He was a kind of star, but it was also a lot negatively responded on. People were very irritated by what he was doing. And once I did that experiment that I took the fourth movement of the Ninth Symphony, and I had it programmed in the computer. And the computer is able to speed up, not 5 times, which would be the limit of how you can play, right? But no, 100 times, 200 times. So what is 1 hour becomes a minute, and you cannot recognize melodies anymore. But you can recognize structures much better. Suddenly, so you see, you see the structure, you hear the structure. It's not pleasant, but very interesting. And then I explored all tempos in between, how the melody, when does the melody actually start to evolve in me as something meaningful? And then I could see from that experiment that the whole structure of the symphony is form-wise not at all simple. So this is not conscious when you hear it for 20 minutes or the whole thing an hour and so on. You're not aware, but subconsciously we feel that. And I think we feel it originally at the time as irritation. We're like, what is he even saying? What's going on here? And why do suddenly people sing? Because that was not exactly what the symphony was normally doing. I mean, it's the first time that he did it. So it was very alienating to the normal flow of things. And if you push something very different to what people generally think, if you push that through, you need a lot, like Wagner also, you not need a lot of ego power. Generally, this doesn't come from a clear vista of soul that this has to be pushed through. Pushed through is usually an egotistical energy. And yes, Beethoven is full of that. Otherwise, he could not have done all these things that he did.
But we do know that most music comes through the vital.
Yes.
The vital force, anyway. That's the creative force. And when Mother spoke to me, she talked to me about a lot of different musicians, which we can get into in the next section. But I would like to hear your understanding, let us say, of Mahler's Fifth with that great adagio movement. What did you feel about that? Did it touch any inner chords?
I don't know it so well, like what I spoke before. So generally, I would say that certain composers have a preference for the feeling in which they like to be. And then if you are a heavy metal guitar player, your province where you are as a musician is probably anger and these kind of things. That's your business, no? So that was not Mahler,
Not at all. No.
right?
Well, there was angst in some of his symphonies, no doubt.
Exactly. And there is also this hope of being detached, of being able to detach from that. It was not going headlong into it.
Yes. Yes, it was always aspiring to rise out of it.
Exactly. So these things are very interesting to observe. And if somebody has that feeling and has that particular skill like Mahler, then this becomes a kind of thing where we can, after 100 years, still tune into this and say, oh yeah, that's quite human. That's a base experience all humans have.
Yes.
Beethoven was also dealing with those base experiences. But in a way, also very individualized, no?
Yes.
That strikes me always again like so much this person.
But you can identify some composers very easily.
Yes.
I think we should conclude this one because we
already?
have so many to go. Namaste all.